I can't help but think back to 2016 when God of War was revealed at E3, and man was I excited. And when God of War released in 2018, well, to say that I fell in love with this game would be a huge understatement. This game is easily one of my personal favourite games of all time, and when the game came to PC, it was only logical that I would mod the hell out of it. What's up guys, it's your boy Lordology here, and in today's video, I'm going to be listing the best mods available for God of War 2018. Now, unlike some of the other games I've covered on the channel, God of War is obviously not going to have the same amount of mods compared to a game like Dragon Age Origins, for example, but there is some excellent mods for this game that I knew I had to feature and recommend here on the channel, that I'm sure many God of War fans will really appreciate. This is the 5th video in my Best Mods You Need to Try series, with Dragon Age Origins, Witcher 1, Witcher 2, and Mass Effect Andromeda already being covered here on the channel, which I'll leave links in the description if you guys would like to check those videos out. And with all that being said, let's get into it. Now, coming in at number 10, we have the classic theme soundtrack mod. One of the biggest complaints I had of God of War 4 was the lack of musical motifs that paid homage to the Greek saga, and even though Bear McCreary's soundtrack for the Norse saga is pretty epic, it doesn't come close to the soundtrack of the older games, at least in my opinion. So essentially what this mod does is restore some of the old soundtracks in game, specifically during the scene where Kratos recovers the Blades of Chaos. The mod uses the Death of Kratos, Warrior's Truth, and Rage of Sparta tracks, which I cannot overstate how awesome it is to hear these tunes while ripping enemies apart with the Blades of Chaos. A minor mod when compared to the other mods on this list, but important nonetheless for old school God of War fans, and I can say that you'll get instant chills when using this mod. Now, coming in at number 9 is the God of Dad Jokes mod. Now, this is arguably going to be the most important mod on this list, for how great it is to hear Christopher Judge cracking some dad jokes. I didn't know what to expect with this mod installed, as I hadn't read the description of it and wanted it to be a surprise when in game, and when I came across the "Hi, sorry, I'm Dad" line, I knew that this mod had to be featured in this video.
Only fire when I tell you to fire.
I'm sorry.
Hi, sorry. I am Dad.
Now, is this an essential mod? Probably not, but hearing Christopher Judge have some fun as the oh-so-serious Ghost of Sparta is really wholesome, and brings some levity to what is quite an epic story. Now, coming in at number 8 is the Tier Weapons mod. The first thing that struck me about this mod was how fantastic the quality of the weapon models are, and basically what this mod does is swap out the Leviathan Axe with 4 different weapons that Tyr made use of in the Valhalla DLC during his final boss fights, with those being the Khopesh, Spear, Aztec Sword, and Katana. All the weapons do look pretty badass in game, and I used each weapon as a replacement for some of the OG weapons in the franchise. Like for example, I made use of the Khopesh replacer to represent the Blade of Artemis from God of War 1, since there really isn't any high quality Blade of Artemis mods that I could find that I liked, and for the Spear I imagined it kind of being a representation of the Spear of Destiny from God of War 2, the Arms of Sparta from Ghost of Sparta, and the Dropnir Spear from Ragnarok, with the Spear probably being my favourite of the 4 replacement weapons from this mod. If you guys are looking for a bit more variety in your weapon appearances, then this mod is definitely worth trying out. Now, coming in at number 7, and what is one of my personal favourite mods on this list, is the Mjolnir mod. I can say with absolute confidence that when many of us saw the Leviathan Axe in action for the first time, we all imagined how crazy it would be to have God of War combat in a Thor-based game. Well, at least that's what I thought, and this wonderful mod turned that thought into reality. Using Thor's hammer in this game is practically seamless and works so bloody well with the Leviathan Axe animations that it's almost as if it was part of the game, and of all the weapons we've gotten across the God of War franchise, Thor's hammer was always on the top of my list. Recalling the axe during combat and performing combos, I can honestly not describe how satisfying it is, and the biggest surprise for myself was how good the textures on the hammer look, with all of the intricate Norse symbols that really make you feel like you're using the most powerful weapon in the 9 realms. Coming at you in number 6, we have the Ascension version of the Blades of Chaos. Now, I have stated this on the channel before, but the Ascension version of the Blades of Chaos is my personal favourite appearance for these legendary weapons. I think a big part of the reason for why is because if they were ever to remaster or remake God of War 1, the Ascension version of the Blades is how I imagined they would look, and I have this opinion because some of the original cover art that features Kratos from God of War 1 has the blades looking eerily similar to the Ascension blades. The mod itself does an amazing job of recreating the blades, and whenever you use runic attacks, the blades will light up like they have been fully upgraded in Ascension, which looks so awesome. If you guys are looking for a high quality replacement for the Blades of Chaos, then this is definitely the mod for you. Now, coming in at number 5 is the Golden Fleece mod. For all of those God of War 2 and 3 fans, this is a mod you're going to really appreciate. For those new to the series, the Golden Fleece is basically a piece of armor that Kratos obtains during the events of God of War 2 and was used for much more powerful counterattacks. The mod does a fantastic job of recreating the appearance of the armor with high quality textures that fit God of War 2018's visuals seamlessly. And the cool thing about this mod is that there are two appearances that replace two armor sets, with the clean version replacing the Ares armor and the bloody version replacing the Zeus armor, both of which are very well detailed. I also need to mention that this mod also features a high quality version of the blades of Athena, specifically the version of the blades that you see in God of War 2 and the beginning of God of War 3, which pairs super well with the Golden Fleece mod. And much like the Ascension blades mod, whenever you build up the immolation meter and use runic attacks, the blades will look like their upgraded counterparts from the Greek saga, which is so cool to see. And if you guys are a fan of the God of War 2 version of Kratos, then you'll have an awesome time with these mods. Something to keep in mind when using custom armor mods in God of War 4 is during certain cutscenes, the textures will be a little stretched. This doesn't happen often, but it's a glitch that's caused by the in-game engine that God of War uses. So when this glitch occurs, just remove the Golden Fleece mod before the scene starts and install it after the scene is over. Though you only have to do this twice during the story, the first time being when Kratos takes the boat home to retrieve the blades, and the second time is when Kratos gets trapped in Helheim up until the final boulder fight. Other than that, you won't come across any other issues as long as the mod is installed correctly. Now coming in at number 4, we have the History Collection mod. This mod package does contain several weapons from the Greek saga, but I personally use it for two of its mods, which I think are the best aspects of this collection. The first being the Blades of Exile that Kratos receives from Athena in God of War 3 and is his main set of weapons during the game, and the second being the God level Blades of Athena that Kratos receives at the end of God of War 1, with them being the main set of weapons that Kratos uses in Ghost of Sparta and at the beginning of God of War 2. Now the Blades of Exile are probably one of the most visually striking versions of the Blades of Chaos, so seeing the Blades weapon model in God of War 2018 is really cool, and I just can't get over how good these blades look in game. And I also think lore-wise, it makes a lot of sense to use the Blades of Exile, not only because Kratos is an exile himself, but because the last set of weapons that Kratos used in God of War 3 are the Blades of Exile, so this mod is very much welcome. The God level Blades of Athena tends to be the version of the blades that gets overlooked by a lot of God of War fans, but I personally love how unique the yellow and blue colour scheme looks, especially in game with this mod. And not to mention, this version of the Blades of Athena are used in what I consider to be the most underrated God of War in the franchise, being Ghost of Sparta. So this mod is very much welcome and pairs really well with some of the other mods on this list. Now coming in at number 3, we have what is one of my personal favourite replacements for the Leviathan Axe, along with Thor's hammer, is the legendary Blade of Olympus. Man, I cannot overstate how awesome this mod is. I don't think you can really play a modded version of God of War without featuring the Blade of Olympus in some capacity for how infamous this weapon is, with Kratos making use of it several times during the story of God of War 2, and the blade functions as his Rage of Sparta ability in God of War 3, and more recently in God of War Ragnarok. So this mod is very much welcome, and brings us a high quality version of arguably one of the best weapons in the God of War franchise, that many God of War players will have hours of fun with, and this is definitely an essential mod when playing God of War. Now coming in at number 2 is the Divine God Armour from God of War 2. This is easily one of my favourite armour mods, which looks like it belongs in the game. This mod specifically replaces the Zeus armour, and while using this mod you'll be absolutely deleting enemies left, right and centre. And for the best experience, I would highly recommend using the God level Blades of Athena mod and the Blade of Olympus mod for the best and most accurate appearance for Kratos and his weapons, which are all featured at the beginning of God of War 2. And much like the God level Blades of Athena, I feel like the God Armour appearance for Kratos tends to get overlooked by a lot of new fans, which is why I wanted to give some love to this version of Kratos, since the God of War 2 version of the Ghost of Sparta is an absolute monster. And much like the Golden Fleece mod, the God Armour mod will have that texture stretching glitch in the scenes that I mentioned, since it is a custom armour. Like mentioned before, it doesn't really happen that often, but it's worth keeping in mind. And finally, coming in at my number 1 spot, and the mod that you guys have seen sprinkled throughout this video, is the Legacy Kratos mod, which gives us a high quality version of Kratos in all of his Spartan glory. The best aspect of this mod for me is not just the fact that it gives us young Kratos, it's the fact that this mod pairs really well with every other mod on this list. So you guys can literally create every version of Kratos from the Greek saga that you could possibly want. Whether it's giving him the Golden Fleece, Blades of Exile, Blade of Olympus, and his young appearance for a high quality version of Kratos from God of War 3, And this is just one possibility. You can do the God of War 1 version of Kratos, the God of War 2 versions of Kratos, the Ghost of Sparta version of Kratos. Literally, the possibilities with all of these mods and pairings are endless, so you guys can customize Kratos to look and use whichever weapon from the saga that you could possibly want. I also need to mention that there are several appearances for Kratos in the Legacy mod, which include his young appearance with a lore-accurate version of his tattoo, as well as an appearance of him that's featured in the God of War 1 cutscenes before he has any ashes on his skin, and Fear Kratos from his vision in God of War 3. So many appearances, so many versions of the Ghost of Sparta, it's literally a God of War playground. Before moving on to my honourable mentions, I do need to bring attention to the fact that the mod does have a glitch that happens to Kratos' skin, though much like the custom armor mods, this doesn't really happen often, but it can occur like in this one scene for example, which is the worst example of this glitch where it looks like Kratos' face has spikes on it. It doesn't happen often enough for it to be a major concern, but it's still worth mentioning and keeping in mind. Now of course I'm going to give you guys some honourable mentions and other fun mods that are great to use. The first honourable mention would have to be the 2005 version of the Blades of Chaos. This is probably the most classic look of the blades and gives the final appearance of the blades that I had yet to mention in this video. So with this mod and all of the other mods on this list, you guys will literally be able to make the Blades of Chaos look like every appearance from the Greek saga, which is so awesome, and I'm really thankful to the modding community for putting these together. And this mod in particular, like the rest of the mods on this list, looks fantastic in game and is well worth trying out. The second honourable mention would have to be the Joker Kratos mod. Now is the face of the Joker terrifying on Kratos? Yeah, absolutely. But easily my favourite aspect of this mod is the fact that it removes Kratos' iconic tattoo, which just looks so odd in game, but it's really cool to see regardless. And I'm also making use of the Nemesis whip mod, which is a weapon that Kratos gains in God of War 3 from Hephaestus, and the weapon model looks really awesome in game. Now as for the third honourable mention, we have the poster boy for this video, which is Kratos Tyson. The mod not only gives Kratos Mike Tyson's infamous face tattoo, but also changes his front teeth to gold, which I wasn't really expecting when trying this mod, but it surprisingly works really well in God of War. And as for the weapons, I'm making use of the Hades Claws mod, which is another weapon from God of War 3 that Kratos gained after killing Hades, which just looks like it belongs in the game. And as for the axe replacement, I'm making use of the Artorius Greatsword mod to top everything off. And also, I do need to mention that the Kratos Tyson mod actually does change Atreus to make him look more emo, which is always welcome. For the fourth honourable mention, we have the Legacy Collection mod. For those God of War purists that didn't like what Kratos looked like in the Norse saga, this mod is definitely for you. This mod basically lets you replace Kratos' character model with all of his appearances across the Greek saga, which include his 3 different appearances from the original trilogy, and his appearance from the last game in the Greek saga, God of War Ascension. These character models actually look fairly decent in game, especially the God of War 3 appearance, which I wasn't expecting, but it was a nice surprise. Though there is a caveat to this. The problem with the Legacy Collection mod is that it seems to affect some of the eyes of NPCs in game, like Brock for example, but if you can look past this pretty funny looking glitch, then you guys will definitely be in for a good time. For my fifth and last honourable mention, we have the No Beard Kratos mod. Of all the mods on this list, this is the mod that in my opinion does the best job of showing the emotions on Kratos' face that was beautifully motion captured by the talented Christopher Judge. I really didn't think I would like this mod as much as I did, but I literally ended up doing an entire playthrough of the game that will be featured on the channel with this mod, and to say I had a good time would be a huge understatement. Also, keep in mind, for this mod to work correctly, you're going to want to get the Beard Fix mod, and the No Loop mod when using modded weapons with this version of Kratos. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of my 5th The Best Mods You Need to Try video for God of War 2018, with many excellent mods included, that really do an awesome job of changing up the experience when playing one of the best games ever made. Hopefully this video has given you guys some ideas on how to change up your next God of War playthrough. Also, I do need to mention that I do have 100% walkthroughs for all 8 God of Wars here on the channel, with some upcoming modded walkthroughs of all of the mods listed in this video, with some extras I've yet to mention. So if you guys are interested in checking out what the gameplay looks like with all of these mods, as well as check out the old school God of War games, then you can check out my God of War walkthroughs from the links below. And now I want to hear from you guys. Do you guys agree with my mod list, or are there any other mods that I should have mentioned? If so, please do let me know in the comments. I would also like to give a big thank you and shout out to my channel members for supporting my content, as it's thanks to you fine folks that make these videos possible. And if you guys would like to support my content, then consider becoming a member. And if not, then consider giving the video a like and subscribing if you want to see more content like this. With all that being said, I hope all of my fellow Spartans have a wonderful day. Be sure to drink lots of water and get some sleep, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Cheers.
And here I thought your kind was supposed to be so enlightened, so much better than us, so much smarter. And yet you hide out here in the woods, like a coward.
You do not want this fight.
Oh, I'm pretty sure I do.
Leave my home.
You are going to have to kill me for that to happen.
I warned you.
Finally.
You would not listen.